Welcome back to Life Hope Talks. I'm Selena. In my previous video, I talked about family dynamics and how it impacts you when you are seeking closure from someone who is alive and well and will not give you closure. But today's video is dedicated to um, those who are seeking closure and they have an unhealthy family dynamic. And when your family's dynamic and how they operate and or how they interact with one another, when that is unhealthy, it can complicate your healing journey. So today's video talks about 3 ways to uncomplicate your healing journey as you seek closure and just try to move on with your life. As I said in the previous video, when we go through things, we commonly turn to our family because it's easy to turn to them because they know us, they know our personality, they can handle who we are. We don't always have to stop and explain what we meant by something. We don't have to always check in with them to see if they're able to follow what we're saying. And a lot of times with friends, especially newer friends, you have to do that. It's important to do that so they can kind of follow along with who you are and why you did the things that you've done. So it's very common for us to turn to our family because we've known them our whole lives and they've known us our whole lives. However, when that family dynamic is unhealthy, it can certainly complicate the healing journey. So the first way to uncomplicate your healing journey when it comes to seeking that support from an unhealthy family dynamic is just to accept it. Your family, that's how they operate, that's how they behave, that's how they interact with one another. Just accept what you see. Very often, I've known people who will be going through very tough time, closure and other things, financial situations, and they'll turn to their family. They know that their family, their dynamics are very unhealthy, but they'll turn to their family expecting the family to respond to them in a very different way when the family has not shown any kind of evidence that they will change how they operate. So accepting this is where your family is right now. You can't make anyone change because you're going through or because you need their support. It will be great if people can soften up, your family can soften up and do things differently and really support you during the time when you're hurting. But that's often not the case when you have a family with unhealthy dynamics. So a way to not add more hurt to you and slow down your healing process is to just accept this is where your family is. The second way to uncomplicate the healing journey for yourself is your expectations. When you turn to your family, you already know how your aunt is. You already know how your Uncle Joe act like he's never made any mistakes in life. You already know your sister is messy. She's going to get on the phone and start gossiping. She's going to start a group text. You won't be involved to bring everybody up to speed with what's going on with you. You already know this. And to expect your unhealthy family dynamics, your family to respond to you in a very different way because you're hurting, that can really set you back. You could begin to feel disappointed, and then that just adds to the hurt. It just adds to you just trying to move on with your life. So accepting where your family is at this point in time and having the expectation that when you tell them a little bit about what you're going through, that they're going to respond. Expect them to respond like how they always respond. That will be a way to kind of cover and guard your heart. It is unfortunate that the family doesn't respond to you in a supportive way, but you've known this. You've seen it your whole life, or you've been seeing it the last 5 years, 10 years. So you already know that. So adjust your expectations so you don't get hurt even more. When someone exits your life, you're already dealing with so many emotions and you're just doing what you can to get through it. But to set an expectation to where your family has never shown you any proof that they'll meet that expectation is only going to hurt you the more. Because your family is going to do what they always have done. And they're going to do it in the way they have always done. It will be great that your family, that when you go to your family, that somehow some healthy dynamics will come forth. But then that's unrealistic because families typically behave in the way that they're used to and what works for them. And the third way to uncomplicate your healing process is to set those boundaries. It's so important to have boundaries set when you have an unhealthy family dynamic. And boundaries is just your way to say no. And it's okay to say no. So often I run into people who, they go through things and they'll turn to their family, but they feel obligated to really talk about the details of what happened in order to get the support from their family. And they still don't get the support from their family. It's just more details for that messy family member, the one that gossips and calls everybody and video chats with everybody and do group messages. It just gives them more ammunition to talk about. So when you set those boundaries with an unhealthy family dynamics, that empowers you to be able to say no. You'll discuss the details when you're ready, if you're ever ready to share it with them. The boundaries are so important because, for example, you may have that sister who likes to gossip, and then you go over, everyone knows you're hurting. They know a little bit, they kind of piece together, some things that you're dealing with. So they know that you're hurting, but you may have that sister that shows up to the Sunday dinner and she has something smart to say, always have a slick comment, That's when the boundaries from you need to come forth for you to just say, I don't like what you just said, and I'm not going to discuss the details. And every time that slickness come forth from your sister or from whichever family member, you have that power, and you're also setting boundaries when you respond in such a way where you're letting her and everybody else know that it's not okay to hurt you. It's not okay to make those comments when they're uncertain of really what happened. So having those boundaries really does take courage to stand up and say for yourself and to firmly insert those boundaries. Not saying to argue going back and forth. It's just when the slick comment comes, you can address it by saying, I don't like what you just said, and I'm not going to discuss the details right now. And leave it alone and move on to get you some more chicken or green beans or whatever else you're doing at the family dinner. So it's important that you have that courage to keep those boundaries in place, because it's enough, emotional struggle and mental struggle to move forward when you've lost someone who was very valuable to you, and you've lost him or her in such a way that it devastated you. So you're already dealing with that, and it's a lot to just keep moving forward when you haven't had that final conversation and you still have questions and you have things you want to say. You certainly don't need someone from your unhealthy family dynamic to start mouthing off and saying things, and you don't want that to hurt you even further. And that begins to complicate your healing journey. So again, today, 3 ways to uncomplicate your healing journey when you have an unhealthy family dynamic. One, accept your family for who they are, and that's where they are. They just don't want to change right now. And because you're hurting, you're not going to be able to make them change. A person changes when they are ready to change. So accept your family where they are right now. Adjust your expectation of them. Expect them to respond the way that they've always responded. If they've talked about everybody else in the family, they're going to talk about you as well. Get ready for it. Be ready for it. No, you shouldn't have to deal with it. It's the wrong time. You need support and love, not drama. But expect that if that's what your family has been showing all of these years. And then also empower yourself by setting up those boundaries and be firm with it. You don't have to argue going back and forth, raising your voice and showing them that you're upset. You know, some family members would do that to try to prove a point or try to show that you're not changed, or, you know, whatever their agenda is. You don't have to argue and go back and forth about your business. It's your business. But certainly have the courage to set that boundary by saying, no, I don't like that comment you just made, and I'm not talking about the details right now. And move on. And even if you have to make your plate, if you're at the family dinner, kiss everybody and say goodbye, or remove yourself from that situation. I hope you found this video helpful. I'm interested to hear what you have to say regarding unhealthy family dynamics. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe so that you are notified every time I upload a new video. Until the next time, please take care of yourself.